Good evening. I call to order the February meeting of the Florence City Planning Commission. I want to thank all of y'all for being here on behalf of the staff and the commissioners tonight. It means a lot to us to see this kind of participation. This is the city and the public's business, so thank you for being here tonight. Ms. Elaine, do we still have executive session scheduled?
We are going to defer the executive session to next month's meeting.
I'm sure y'all be pleased to hear that. All right. Like I said, on behalf of the commissioners and the planning staff, thank you for being here. We're going to open up, with our invocation. And Mr. Moses, I'm going to call on you again.
Okay. Well, ladies, happy Valentine's.
Oh.
May y'all be served well this evening. Dear Lord, we want to thank you for giving us another day. Another day we can say thank you. Thank you for opening our eyes this morning in the right mind. Lord, we want to thank you for everything you do. But Lord, I always want to pray because we don't let our children pray in school. Phew. And that's something. The White House pray. The State House pray. But they won't let our kids pray. But Lord, let them think about what they're doing. Maybe prayer will change things. We always say prayer do change this thing. But dear Lord, I want to give you thanks for what we do today for the citizens of Florence. And let us reason our right mind that we do the right things for the citizens of Florence. These are the blessings we ask in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Moses. As usual, it is a lot of skill behind that experience. The first item on the agenda is approval of last month's minutes. The commissioners have received their packets. They've had time to go through them and determine its accuracy.
Make a motion we approve.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Moses. Any other suggestions of change, or I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And nay for the like sign, and the ayes have it. The first item on the agenda calls for a public hearing. And before we get into it, I'd like to announce to this group tonight that my company is somewhat involved, was involved with the sale of this property. And so I am going to recuse myself for this first item, which is PC 2023-05. Ms. Elaine brought it to my attention. I did not even realize my company was involved with the sale of this property. And so I felt that it would be only appropriate for me to hand this over. I'm going to ask Mr. Hill to stand in for me as chair. And I would like to mention one thing as it relates to structure and being cordial during our public hearings. Mr. Hill is going to open up the public hearing at a certain point, and he'll invite those that are against this issue to come forward, and he will, if it's a large number, he will limit that to maybe 3 to 5 minutes at most, and maybe 3 to 4 or 5 speakers at most for each side. There'll be no discussion or talking out in the audience, and when you come forward or when you want to speak, you have to come to the podium, and we ask that you give us your name, and then we'd love for you to express yourself as it relates to how you feel about each issue. The speaker will always face the commissioners. We don't want the speaker to be out, pointing fingers or anything like that. So we ask that you either cut off your cell phones and show that kind of respect. I am now going to officially turn it over to Mr. Robbie Hill. And Mr. Hill is probably thinking, well, Drew, why didn't you mention this to me before? So he is just now finding out that he's going to be filling in. So out of courtesy and mandate, I have to go sit in the audience while that is going on. So if y'all give me a minute, Mr. Hill.
All right, thank you, Chairman Chaplin. All right, very first order of business is I'll introduce the matter by reading it. This is matter PC 2023-03, request to rezone a parcel located on Dexter Drive from NC 15 to NC 6.3. So that's the matter at hand. I'll ask for staff report.
Good evening. Yes, this is the case that was heard back in January and then was deferred for staff to look at a little bit more information about it. It is the parcel located at the corner of Dexter and Atwood Drive. This is a close-up of it. The zoning map shows that right now it is zoned NC 15 and everything to the south and west of it largely is NC 15. Everything to the north and east of it is NC 6.3, a little bit of open space and a little bit of activity center, and then a little bit of NC 4. So it's right between the multifamily areas and the single family area. The request is for the lot to be rezoned from the NC 15 to NC 6.3, the purpose being that the property owner wants to subdivide it into lots for single family development. Under the NC 15, which is the current zoning designation, the minimum lot width required is 100 feet, so he would only be able to get 4 lots out of it. It's about 450 feet long. The NC 6.3 that's requested provides for a minimum lot width of 50 feet, which would give him 9 parcels, but the plans that he wants to use, he would be comfortable with a 56-foot lot width. But since we don't have a 56-foot wide designation, that he wanted the 6.3 for the 50 feet. The staff is recommending the NC 6.1, which is a 60-foot, which would accommodate the 56. But NC 6.1 limits it to single-family development only, whereas 6.3 would permit multifamily, duplexes, townhouses, those kind of uses. So that was the staff's suggestion. It was brought up at the last meeting. There was concern that this was part of the Kirkwood subdivision and under jurisdiction of their covenants, restrictive covenants, which would limit it to the 100-foot width. The city hasn't found anything, but the applicant did provide some evidence from his lawyer and from his insurance company that this is not part of Kirkwood and is not under the authority of the restrictive covenants. So the recommendation of staff still stands, but it is up to the commissioners to make the final decision. And that concludes staff's report.
All right, thank you for that. Excellent job as always. Are there any questions for staff before we continue from the commissioners? Okay, I have my stopwatch pulled up on my telephone. There's a lot of people here interested in this matter, and it is your right to be heard tonight. So,
I'm sorry, I did forget.
Oh,
We did receive petitions yesterday signed by the residents, and you do have a copy of that.
okay. So, the way this will work is I'll open up for public hearing, and then you will approach the microphone and say your piece. I'm going to limit it to 3 minutes, and we'll hear first from opposition, and then we'll hear next from people that are looking to support the development project as proposed. So I now call for the public hearing on this matter to be open, and would anybody like to speak in opposition? Please come forward. No, sir, you need to approach the microphone. I've been doing this a long time. It's consistently enough. All right, first for the record, state your name.
My name's Richard Smith. I live in Kirkwood subdivision. I've been there since 2007. I think last time when I was here, I told you that we I bought in that neighborhood for the houses, the width of the houses, the style of the houses. I like the location, the schools, and the proximity of everything around it. Love the neighborhood here. Obviously, over time and the years, we've had some issues with some water, and I think the neighbors have lived with it, and they have put up with it. I think this city can acknowledge that there are some issues there on Malden, which I think maybe somebody later on help me acknowledge this here. I would like to also, I don't want to be so negative up here. I like to also talk about other things that are going in the city of Florence and the Florence County. I think some of us in here may know something, Greg Robinson. If you know Greg Robinson, he's on that economic board. Greg Robertson is also responsible for bringing Florence more business here than we've ever had. He can right now tell you that Florence is getting ready to exponentially grow. He's brought the new battery company here and some of the other satellite businesses that are going to follow also with it. Now you say, where are you going with this point? Well, my point where I'm going with, we're going to have a shortage of 4,000 to 5,000 houses is what we're going to have. And we're going to sit here and quibble over 4 or 5 houses on a lot. But I'm going to get to my point, reason why I disagree with those 4 or 5 houses being added to this here. In the past, I've had real estate agents say, we have to be very careful how we sell houses on Malden Drive in the Kirkwood subdivision because of the flooding. That hurts us. I think our citizens in that neighborhood have reached out to the city many a times and talked, especially when it's flooded, that we have issues there. And over the years, and Malden Drive is not the only one in Florence. There are other places in Florence where the city, I don't say they've ignored it, but they've just put it to the side. We have shoved it to the side, and now it's time where the city needs to be held responsible and do some things. Well, I haven't gotten to the point, the reason why I disagree with this property. It's all about flooding. If you can, Elaine, can you go back to that very first picture you had up there? It was on Dexter and Atwood.
You mean of the location?
Well, the property, the plat where it shows the tax map ID number of Dexter.
Oh, yeah.
Please, thank you.
That one?
Yeah, that'll work. The property that the new buyers bought, you see is at the corner of Atwood and Dexter. He has a property of 475 feet of frontage. All the other houses in Malden and all the other streets are set at 100 feet. That was a pre-planned neighborhood. That's how all these houses were set up in that neighborhood. There was another spot around the YMCA that they went back and they decreased it to 80. Those houses do look good. They fit in with everything that we have. They're proposing to put as many houses as they can put there. But here is the problem that the city has ignored over the years. That if you go back to Dexter Drive in Atwood, I'm going to try to illustrate, from the YMCA all the way down to that corner, that is a holding pipe right there for that route. That's where all that water drains. There are exterior ditches that go all the way around Dexter. There's exterior ditches that go all around Atwood Drive. There's another parcel in the middle. The ditches all come to the middle of the woods. There's a tile. There's two places under the street. There are 2 tiles that go to those properties over there where the water filters in onto those lots there. They are next to being wetlands. But they're not categorized wetlands, but that's what they are. Someone, and I'm assuming when I say this here, sometime in the last couple of years that the drainage was so bad at the YMCA, someone went on there on that lot that they had just bought, and they had dug a perpendicular ditch, 2 of them. Now, why did they do that? Because the ditches on the perimeter of the property will not handle the water problems that we have in that neighborhood. Well, now, it backs all the way up to Malden. Malden has a problem also. You can go up, and when we have these heavy rains, you can't drive through those things. I had a friend's daughter who drove through it a couple of years ago, thought she could drive through all that water, and what'd she do? She ruined the engine. That's how deep it was. So we do have a problem. So this has got nothing to do with what we're talking about. It does. Let me tell you the reason why. Because if you go in there and you put 9 houses on those lots, the absorption rate is almost dissipated to nothing. You got roofs, you got concrete, and none of that water is going to dissipate in that ground. And that's the problem why I disagree with the 9 to 8 houses that are proposing. We have a problem that goes all the
Sir,
way down there
we've
to the
hit,
end.
we've hit 5 minutes. Do you want your neighbors to also have time to speak?
Can I speak for someone else?
My name is Yancey Stokes.
sir.
I'll yield my 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Stokes.
All right, continue. Continue, sir.
Can I continue, sir?
Go ahead.
Okay. So, this is why I disagree changing the rezoning that we have now. I ask that you keep our homes, if they are right now. Those are our homes. That's where we come to. I'm probably going to live and die there. I'm going to see my grandchildren grow up in that neighborhood, and they are too also. We don't want those houses, put 9 of them over there. That does not fit in our neighborhood. We want to keep our homes as they are, as this plot, as Elaine had mentioned earlier, whether this little piece of property didn't quite fit in. Well, if there was another, if I had a plot here, I can show you. Everything from the YMCA is Kirkwood and comes on down and stops. Everything around Ansley comes around and stops. So there is a little piece of property, they call it farmland. That's the parcel that he just recently bought. So that farmland really could have been in Kirkwood when it was first developed, but they probably couldn't buy it. So that's why it's not, I can't say for sure, because I did talk to the city appraiser. He said, I cannot tell you if it's in Kirkwood, and I cannot tell you if it's not in Kirkwood. There's nothing definitive about it. But it fits in there. When you drive down that street, it's the same thing throughout the whole neighborhood. That's what we want to keep. We want to keep our neighborhood the same, is what we want to do. I am a little disappointed at the city because there are no signs. If you go by there today, there are no signs saying there that we are having a rezoning. I went to the day, you got some more doing your rezoning paper. You look on there, I went there and there are signs posted on some of them other sites today. When I went around and I collected the petition with the people that I got to meet, they had no idea that what was happening. Not anybody had it. And I had to go through the same situation to explain what is happening. They want to change the lot size. They want to put smaller houses in. And that's not going to fit in with what we have right now. We want to stop it. We want to keep our homes just like they are and continue on through there. Like I said earlier, where was I going with the battery plant, whatever? We're going to have an exponential explosion of houses, is what we're going to have. We're going to have a shortage. That's a quote from Greg Robinson. 5,000 houses, we're probably going to be short. There are plenty of other places in Florence that they can build, and there are plenty of other places they can practice their density where they want to practice it. When that lot was sold, it was sold with 100 feet footage, and that's the way it needs to stay. And that's where I stand with this here. I did want to sound so negative on here, but I just, as I get hot, I get sad. But I do have a couple of things I would like to say in the thing. I would like to thank the city to keep the neighborhood intact as it is. That's my first thought. That was a reason. I don't want to change the value in our neighborhood. I feel like we would change the value in our neighborhood if we go back in there and put smaller houses. I think that's going to change, period. I want the city to start enhancing not only the south side of the town. We seem like a lot of things on the west side of town, but all on the other side of town too as well. They have these same issues that we had. I'll give you 3 more minutes and I'll stop.
No, you're finished. It's over. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to thank y'all for hearing me, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Appreciate you coming out.
I had a couple more comments, and that's fine.
Thank you for your time. We'll hear another opponent to this matter. Please state your name.
Yes, I'm John Malone. I'm a resident of 619 Ansley Street. I live a third house up from this intersection that they're talking about where all the flooding happens. I've been there for 22 years. I've had floods. We've seen floods on Ansley Street. I've had up to 11 inches of water in my garage. My neighbors back here lost 2 vehicles across the street because water came up into their vehicles. Mine came that close to the room. But anyway, the only thing that has happened that has made any sense whatsoever was when they dug the ditch down at that corner of Bexley and Ansley. If you'll put that slide up, it shows the water in it. Okay, the one on the left. That's where the drain comes down Dexter or Atwood Street. They dug that drain back through there, and all of a sudden the water had somewhere to go. It goes back into those woods, and it gets to a retention pond on farther in the back. Since that time, we have not had flooding in the neighborhood. Angela Street is a cut-through street. Everybody in the world uses it back and forth. But my concern is that if you do anything, build anything on that corner lot, and probably a lot or two up, there's no way that you can stop but having the flooding again.
Okay.
So for that purpose, I'd love to see it turned down. I appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Since he was so short, we can have one more speaker in opposition. Or okay, hearing none, I'm moving on to the proponents for this matter. And if anyone wants to speak in favor of this petition, please rise. Please state your name.
Namaste and good evening. My name is Piyush Mehta. I'm a licensed realtor who work in South Carolina, and I am one of the beneficiaries of this property. I have given the proof that no covenants, restrictions encumbrance this property, and it's not in any subdivision. So that's my first point. Second thing, regarding Dexter Drive, there is a water drain which drains off the rainwater, the storm water, and it's at the junction over there. So I think so there won't be any problem regarding flooding, and I have been discussing with Mr. Moore and the engineer. We are ready to take the necessary steps if needed, and let me tell you, we have also decided, like, if necessary, we can make a ditch that goes all the way to the retention pond. So might be for my property, it won't be creating any more issues with the flooding. Sorry. So I think so that's for the stormwater. We got enough place where we can just dive with the water, and it won't be any flooding issue. Now, as we go with the, Miss Ellen, if you can please put the slide with the zoning. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, as we can see, the surrounding properties, they are got NC4 and NC 6.3. So I think so. What we are asking for is just getting along with the surrounding. And let me tell you, there are houses which range from 1800 to 2000 square feet surrounding, and the valuation of those houses, as I've been trying to see the comps, range from 240 to 300,000. And the houses which I'm trying to build are from 1500 to 1800 square feet. And the price range is almost as what the surrounding area has. So I don't think so there will be any matter about the depreciating, but I think so it will again, when something new development is there, always it appreciates the surrounding value. So I think so that's just sits around with the neighboring, what the surrounding area is and what the neighborhood surrounding is. Yeah, we are trying to get 6.3, and I'm assuring that we are only going to make single family houses. We are not planning to build any multi-family houses. And again, like 56 feet which we are trying to fit the number of houses, because if you see in the surrounding, it's NC4, that's just 40 feet wide houses. And I'm not planning that. I'm planning 56 feet houses. Again, I'm trying to get 6.3 regionally, but I leave on the jury to decide about it, whether they want 6.1 or 6.3.
Okay. Well, did the commissioners have any? Did the commissioners have any questions before you go?
I have actually do.
Now, I believe, before you guys go, did I not see staff recommends 6.1? So, but you've requested 6.3, which is what we're going to decide.
I asked for 6.3, but if the staff recommends 6.1, I'm ready to go with that. I won't go against any of your decisions.
All right, we'll consider that in a moment. Commissioners, any questions?
For clarity though, again,
Yes.
okay, the 6.3, it would allow for 8 or 9 homes. Is that right? And the 6.1, is it 5 homes?
We might need that.
I
We might
think
need
around
that slide.
6 houses. 6 to 7 houses.
Okay. So can you explain to me what the 6.3 and the 6.1 is again? One more time, how many homes is it?
Yes, so the request is 6.3, which would be 50-foot wide lots, and it would allow for up to 9 lots to be subdivided. But it also allows other uses than single-family detached homes, to include townhomes, multifamily, that type. So a 6.1 restricts it solely to single-family attached home or detached homes, and also increases the lot frontage to 60 feet.
And 6.1 would be 7 homes on the site
That's correct.
instead of the 9 at 6.3.
And can we ask how many homes are he proposing to build in this lot?
He has requested the 6.3, which would allow up to 9.
But sir, you're saying if so moved, you'd be open to accepting 6.1.
Yeah.
And how many homes would you build if you had that designation?
Let me tell you, 60 feet wide is 7 6 of 42, so around 7 houses.
Which is the limit here at 6.1. Okay.
And I also wanted to remind the board that this is a recommending body, so this is not the final decision. That whatever the Planning Commission determines will then, that recommendation will go up to City Council for final decision.
I was going to get there. I was going to wait until the conclusion. All right. Thank you. I think you can be seated unless there's any more questions.
No.
Okay, go ahead. Yes, Mr. Moses.
No. My questions.
Yeah.
The 6.1 is going to be, what the footage is? 60 feet?
Yes, sir.
And they are now 100, you saying?
Yeah.
The houses they have there now? That's what we're saying. And only if the 100 feet, you won't be able to build before.
That's
Yeah,
the current.
Again, we will be having some 50 feet extra space where, if we count 100 feet, then it's 400, but this is 450 wide.
Okay, so with the 100 foot wide, 400 feet wide, you can build 4 houses. 4 and 4, in all the work.
Yes.
But you wouldn't consider putting 4 houses there?
Let me tell you, sir, nowadays, if you see, I'm a realtor and I can see day-to-day market. People prefer not big lots, but trying to get smaller lots and build some good, beautiful modern houses on that. And that's what we are trying to do. If I get a 60 feet wide, I can just make a 40 feet pad and leave 20 feet on both the sides between the 2 houses, and that would be really something which is...
In other words, what you're trying to tell me
Yes,
is
sir.
that you want to get more real estate out of your 100. That's what it's all about, right?
Sir,
It's all about-
nowadays... Sorry,
That's what it's all about, right? Just be honest straight with me. That's what it's all about. Money. Right. 4 houses versus 8. Am I right?
7. If I get 6.1, it will be 7 houses.
Now we won't be able to build before that with the way it's zoned now. Am I right?
You're
Yes.
right.
The way it's currently zoned,
won't be able to get
only
four.
4 homes could be.
Yes.
4. And you want to put. I just don't like that closeness. That's my thing about the whole issue. But whatever, we just the rest of them decide. But I don't like to throw. I look at the house they're building now. They are really. They won't have to catch a fire the next house will catch fire also. That's what I'm looking at. And the way they're building them, I can see their point out there. Because that's the reason I build mine out in the woods by nobody. But see, building, trying to squeeze that in there, you know, just think if something really happened, God forbid it, if one house catches on fire, all 8 of them houses might be on fire. Am I right? Possibility if the fire department don't get there fast enough.
So let me tell you, like I have seen the houses more closer to that, but I'm trying to build. If I get a 60 feet wide, if I get 6.1, then I would be having 20 feet, more than 20 feet between the two houses.
You just have a bigger lot. That's all they're dealing with.
Now nowadays, what is going on in the market? I'm just talking according to that, and I think so that is more viable in this current market. That's what I'm trying to say.
Mr.
But I'll be only going to
Mr.
this.
Moses, we got more
I'm
questions.
finished.
Other commissioners.
I'm finished.
Yes.
Because I'll be here all day.
Yes, sir. One of the concerns
Yes.
that I think most of these folks that signed this petition, one of their main concerns is first thing they list is increased flooding on Dexter Drive, Ansley Street, and surrounding areas. Now, are you familiar with the flooding situation in that area?
I've been going since I've been buying and I've been going in this area.
How long have you had this property?
It's been like around 3 months. I have been trying to work with my seller.
So you own it 3 months, is that what you're saying?
No, like we were having discussions, but just we had like a month back.
Okay.
We had a closing.
So no, I don't mean to cut you off, but I don't want to belabor the point. So you're not familiar with the flooding problems in that area? Personally?
I have been traveling lots of time over there during heavy rains, and on Dexter Drive, I have not seen any flooding.
Okay.
I don't know about the surrounding area, but I have been traveling.
In the last year, 2 years, you're not familiar with that?
Let me tell you, I have my membership in YMCA since might be 2018, and I have been going over there. But I haven't seen any flooding on the Dexter Drive. I don't know about the surrounding area because I have not been traveling in those areas. But let me tell you, the way I'm traveling is
my question is the point that I'm trying to get you to understand, what these people are trying to get you to understand, is that at that corner where that ditch cuts perpendicular, that road floods out. And I think in your presentation, maybe you can help me. But what you presented is that the only other thing you could do, because there's already a ditch there that goes back to that retention pond. So what else could you do as an individual, or can you recommend to the city to help alleviate the problem? Because they have a legitimate concern, I believe, because they live there and they've seen the water rise. This man, I didn't even know the water got that high out there. It flooded this whole car out in the garage. So that's almost unbelievable. But nonetheless, that's what he said, and I believe him. But how do you respond to that? Is what I'm trying to figure out, based on what they're saying and what these petitioners have said.
I did have discussion with Mr. Moore. Like if this is granted, then we will take the necessary step, whatever is there. I've got an engineering, discuss with the engineer regarding that thing. And we got another 30 feet extra space if we make 6 houses. We can make a drain or a ditch from where the water can drain away on the back side.
And that would go to the retention pond?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Any more questions from the commissioners? All right, thank you for your time. You may be seated.
Yes.
Anyone else to speak in favor? It's not really you can come speak. please state your name for the record.
My name is Charles Rambo. I live at 1620 Brandon Drive, and the city has a right-of-way that runs down by my property, which is the drainage for it runs from Malden over to by my house. It runs down Milton, and several years ago the city went in and put, not sure if they were 6 foot or 8 foot pipes. They dug 2 trenches across Second Loop and ran them all the way down to Jeffries Creek. So that's where the water runs from that area. It runs back across into Partridge Circle, I believe it is. And then across the parking lot there where the gym is, on down to Jeffries Creek. Now, the city has been doing a better job in keeping the drains open because before, I'm at the corner of Milton and Brandon, and there are 4 catch basins right there. And when you fill up all the drains around coming to that one area, you know, the water doesn't have anywhere to go. I mean, I have gone in my front yard before and had on high boots, like rubber boots and knee boots, stepped down in the water, and it's so deep that it goes over the top of my boots, fills up my boots with water. So there's going to be more problems with water.
For the people in the...
And I got one other question.
Okay.
On the lots we're talking about, are the current setbacks going to be in effect?
It's
25 feet from the front, 5 feet on each side?
Yes, sir.
staff
Then
is
that
saying
means you can't build with a 40 foot. You can't build with a 40 foot wide house because you got 5 feet on both sides if you go with 50 feet lots.
Yeah, I'm reading the notes from last month when the engineer spoke, and he said that he would have 50-foot wide lots in the minutes from the last meeting. And that I do want to clarify the drainage. You guys might be interested in the audience. The drainage behind the site goes through the ponds at the apartments behind it and goes through the Walmart site on South Derby Street. This was in the minutes from last month when we talked about this matter. Anything else?
Well, what about setbacks?
They're the same.
They're the same. Okay, so that means it'd be a 40 foot wide house. That's all it could be. Because you got 5 feet on both sides. Is that correct?
That would be the permitted buildable area
Okay.
Yeah.
if he was granted the 6.3.
Okay. All right.
And I do want to point out to the commission that the city is the MS4 agent for the state regarding stormwater. So any development on this property, given its size, will go through formal stormwater review that will then be sent over to the state for final approval.
Good to know. Thank you. All right. Thank you for your time. I'm sorry. I messed up. I shouldn't. I thought. Long story short, at this point in the meeting, we're only hearing from people that are for it. So with that, no one being for it, I'm calling the public hearing closed on this matter. And now the commissioners, we have this matter in front of us. We've heard comments. We have the petition in front of us of the people opposed. You guys have a couple options. Since staff has recommended 6.1, the developer said that's okay, but also has requested 6.3. So any discussion for the commissioners? 6.1, he can build 7. Now he can build 4 now.
You can build 4 now.
Current zoning NC 15, 4 lots possible.
And are the current residents, surrounding residents, are they against both 6.1 and 6.3?
In a show of hands, I don't ever do this. You guys against any additional? No, never mind. Okay.
Less than 100 foot?
No, I will just. I think they're against it all.
The question, Mr. Chair, the question that we're about to take the vote on is the partial move from NC 15 to NC 6.3. Is that correct? That is the question.
I'm offering you 2 questions if you want, because we can always go against the recommendation from the applicant.
Oh, yeah.
We always have that. We have that option. So
That's right. The commission can,
You can-
recommend denial. They can recommend NC 6.1 or NC 6.3.
all right. So those are your options. Deny the request in whole,
And-
6.1 or 6.3.
And if I could, I would just like to say at this point, the gentleman clearly said that he would accept 6.1. And if he's willing to accept 6.1, and the planning says they recommend 6.1, then I don't know that we need any more discussion other than to vote on 6.1 or what's the other 6.3? NC 6.3. So that is
All right. So those are
before
your,
us at this time. We're either going to vote on NC 6.1, which he has clearly stated he approved, and the city approves this. And I certainly could support. It's like if the lots are 100 feet at this point, and he wanted 50, and he's willing to increase it to 60, then that looks like a good compromise.
all right. So do you want to make that in? Do you want to
So
recommend 6.1?
at this point, I would like to make a motion that we approve the 6.1 zoning for this property.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second? We have a motion for 6.1. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second. All right. And now we will, I'll call for the votes. All those opposed, all those in favor of approving this recommendation for 6.1, say aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed?
I'm undecided.
Abstaining? All those abstaining? You abstained last time. Do you want your vote as abstain?
Abstain.
All right, so we have 1, 2, 4, 4, 1 abstained. Motion passes. Now let me clarify, just as you heard earlier, what that means. This body's, our mission here, our purpose here is to have the hearing, look at the record, and receive expert opinions from city staff. We take those opinions from city staff, we hold this meeting, and then we send what our recommendation is to city council. They will have 2 readings of it before it's finalized. And that will probably be on next month's city council agenda for them to start reviewing it. But it does not become official in the city code until they've had 2 readings at the city council. They meet on the second Monday at 1 o'clock in this room. All right, that matter is concluded, and I think I'm going to ask for Chairman Chaplin to come back and pick us up.
You don't need all the little thing. You don't need all the little thing. You was already good.
Yes, thank you.
Waiting on you.
That was a nice one to be left out of.
Okay, those that are leaving, I'd appreciate if you'd step on out, and those that are staying, thank you. When I was out in the audience, I had a difficult time hearing any of the commissioners or the staff. Can you hear me well now? I don't know. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I see. Well, thank you for coming tonight, sir. Thank you.
That's what was on the record.
Yes, sir.
That's what was before us
Yes.
to vote on.
Yes, ma'am.
He says he don't know how we decided. He don't know how we decided our decision.
Okay.
We was voting
He
on.
didn't. He doesn't have this thing in front of him. All right.
That's what we were voting on.
All right, getting on with our schedule. The next item, which I incorrectly, when I recused myself, I mentioned this one, PC 2030, gotta get my glasses.
2305.
2023-05. Staff report, please.
All right, this is Magnolia Farm subdivision. You guys do have a new sketch plan in front of you that was submitted today in response to city staff comments on the initial sketch plan. So these are the two parcels in question. This was actually annexed into the city December 12th, 2022. It involved 10 parcels, approximately 302 acres. All right, and the current zoning is actually RG3, which is general residential. It's so new, it's not on our zoning maps. All right, so here is the overall site plan for phases 1 and 2 of Magnolia Farms. So phase 1 is 78 lots, approximately 25 acres. Phase 2, 79 lots, 26 acres, for a total of 157 on the sketch plan that we would be approving tonight. And in these two phases, they have 4 ponds for stormwater quality and quantity. They are proposing a sewer lift station. The delineation, the line in the middle of the screen is a 90-foot utility right-of-way for Duke Energy. So that's kind of a point where you can tell. So that's where the lift station will be. It will be a gravity sewer to the lift station, then it will be pumped out to Hoffmeyer Road. And so city water and sewer services are available. This is RG3 zoning, and they're proposing approximately 24% open space. So that would put them into the category of conventional subdivision, 60-foot lot widths, minimum, 6,000 square foot minimum, as well as the setback shown. So that's phase 1. And then the next page, phase 2, 79 lots, approximately 26 acres. Again, the same minimum requirements and setbacks. And then finally on the last page, so that does conclude staff's report.
All right, any questions from the commissioners regarding staff?
Real quick, is any of this property in Darlington County?
There are some phases that will be
right.
in Darlington County. If you look at the last page, it will show you the delineation between Florence County and Darlington County.
Can the city annex property in another county?
We have actually annexed into Darlington County through
Yeah,
mutual agreement.
That came before the commission.
That's what happens when you miss a meet.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Thanks for confirming.
Yes, sir.
I have one question. You mentioned upon staff review, minor discrepancies. Those have been taken care of, as you just stated, and so they are in compliance.
They are in compliance, yes, sir. They met everything that we wanted them to meet in staff comments regarding sketch plan.
All right. Any questions? We do not have a public hearing for this, so I will call for a motion.
Move to be approved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve as submitted. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
I just want to ask for the question, because we just approved something. What is the width of this property?
60-foot lot width minimum.
Minimum 60.
Yes, sir.
It's NC 6.1.
This is RG3, general residential, but it's very similar.
Right, close to the same.
Yes, sir. Where that's neighborhood conservation, we're trying to conserve existing neighborhoods. This is a new subdivision, so it gets this new general residential tag, but it's very similar.
Be consistent.
Mr. Moses, let me mention this, Mr. Moses. This will kind of explain it for you. This is a new development that's going completely master planned. Now, what we had before this was going into an existing neighborhood that was changing up.
I understand. I just looked at it. I wanted to make sure that we just approve one thing and then we back to the same thing with different size lots. Am I right?
It's not the same thing.
No, it's not
The lots will be the same, but the situation is different.
Well, I'm saying the lots. I'm talking lot sizes. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Lot size is the same.
It's RG3
RG3, yes, sir.
versus NC 6.1. So there is a slight difference in the zoning designation.
I understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we being
All
consistent.
right.
I'm good.
So I have a motion and a second. We're through with discussion, and I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Like signs nay, and the ayes have it. Thank you. All right.
Consistent.
PC 2023-06. Staff, please. Mr.
All
Johnston.
right. This is a request to rezone a parcel at 400 East Pine Street. This is the Housing Authority, or was the Housing Authority administrative offices. They have since moved to the old Bilo on West Palmetto Street in an effort to get all their administrative staff in a larger building, everyone in the same location. This is currently zoned as a PUD C, a planned unit development commercial. This city does not have a lot, well, we don't have any development details for this PUD C. It was created to permit the Housing Authority to do what they wanted to do on the property and also have all the other accessory uses that they needed. Logistical support structure, so that vehicles, also the Housing Authority does repairs, so they have some storage there, multifamily housing and offices. So it was made to permit that originally, but as it is now, it's not really developable because we don't know the details. So here,
this plan development was adopted and passed in '79, I believe. When we being the city, transitioned from a mutual agreement with the county and separated our planning and zoning departments, we lost a tremendous amount of those records. So we have very little on our currently zoned PDDs throughout the city. This is a very common occurrence where we work with the owners to give it a conventional zoning district to fit their needs.
I have noticed several times that we've not been able to find the old records and stuff. Makes sense.
so as it is currently, Florence Housing Authority, now are formally an admin building. They have some vehicle storage, Clyde Court, affordable housing, and also PD cap is on site. So the AC district, if Planning Commission chooses to recommend, is a mixed-use zoning district outside of the central business district. So this does kind of give a list of residential uses that are permitted, institutional, as well as multifamily, which is the direction that the Housing Authority would like to go on this property. So multifamily does have certain conditions regardless of the zoning district, and those conditions are made to protect surrounding residential. In this area, you have institutional, you have churches, you have commercial, as well as residential. So these are the conditions that they would have to meet, including buffer yards to buffer them from residential districts. And then in the AC district, they'll have to provide a parking court, a courtyard visible from the street, or a plaza. So there are certain amenities that they'll have to accommodate to go in this location. For those reasons, the city would recommend a rezoning based on what's around it and the conditions set forth in the Unified Development Ordinance to protect the surrounding character.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Any questions from the commissioners for staff? Hearing none, we do have a public hearing portion of this. And as Mr. Hill so finally did, I will ask if anyone would like to speak against this to come up first. And we will limit that time, but we may not have any takers. And then I'll invite those that are for this. Is there anyone in the room that would like to speak against this zoning request? Seeing none, is there anyone in the room that would like to speak in favor of this zoning request?
Good evening, Commissioners.
Yes, sir. Your name, please.
My name is Esperon Huggins. I'm the Director of Facilities Management with the Housing Authority of Florence. And just quickly, I would just like to let you know that our plans are to develop 64 beautiful townhouse-style homes in that area of our old administrative building. And of course, just like Mr. Derrick said, we are willing to do whatever it takes to develop it by code all the way through. We have a developer on board, and he is very well aware of what we have there and what we want to get into. So your recommendation would be fully appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming forward. If commissioners don't have any questions with that gentleman,
Yeah, I got a question because I'm thinking about that part of town right now. You see, you go build townhouses there.
It's a townhouse style.
Townhouse style.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Those where you have the shelter there, it's gonna stay there?
Yes, sir.
And the Clyde Court's gonna stay
Yes,
like
sir.
it is?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you trying to plan on building where that fence at, where those other stuff at? That's what
Yes, sir. Where the old administrative building it is.
Norfolk Street. And that's what that name of that street?
No, it's 400 East Pine.
But that's a street.
Jarrett Street runs on the side bit.
Jarrett, and then it's got a little short street goes back up in there. Where you got all the fence and all that.
Oh,
You got a lot of stuff over there. That's the name of that street?
Oh.
It's Oak or Cedar?
I think that's.
Oh, you're talking about on the back side.
Right.
Not familiar. I don't know what it is.
Oh, is it Noble Street, sir?
Noble Street. Noble Street. Never that Noble. No,
No, but it's old.
They got the Cedar.
You can look right there. It shows Oak Street. If you look to your right in the middle
Pine
of the page,
Street.
it's Oak
It's
Street.
Pine
It's old.
Street.
I'm trying to tell you, it's old.
Right here.
Are you?
See, that's Oak Street.
You talking about Noble was back here?
No.
I can zoom out. Is that one better?
Noble Street sits back here. Our back lot fence sits here.
Right.
And here goes some lots here, and Noble Street sits.
Right. It's houses there on Noble Street.
Yes, sir.
And then you got to fence and all up there with storage and stuff.
Yes,
That's
sir.
what you're talking about developing, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That whole entire lot.
Okay. That's okay. So that would include that homeless shelter in that, would it?
No, sir.
Okay.
The homeless shelter, everything will be there. Only thing we're going to develop is what we left, and that is the administrative building.
I can go back down. Sorry. This guy right here.
It's the administrative building there, which has 400 on it. This here is the maintenance area.
Right.
There's another building attached to the 400 there, which was our Section 8 building. Then that parking lot there. So everything in that facility is what we do.
Or the clear land you're talking about.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You said how many units you think you can get in there?
64.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
All right. Any other questions of this gentleman? Thank you, sir. Appreciate you coming forward. Appreciate the hard work y'all do. All right. I will close the public hearing portion of this and call for a motion.
So moved.
I have a move.
Second.
I have a movement, a motion. I have a second, a motion and a second to approve this zoning Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Like sign is nay. Mr. Moses, do you abstain?
No, he actually voted this time.
Oh, he did. I did see his mouth move, so
He actually voted, I heard him.
Okay, well, that's unanimous. Thank you. And Mr. Moses, it's always good to hear you.
I'll speak more loudly next time, okay?
Okay. Okay, PC 2023-07. This is a request to zone RG3. Ms. Elaine, staff report, please.
Yes, the applicant has asked to defer this request until the next meeting while they're working out a few details with the city on utilities and with DOT on access.
That breaks my heart.
That much closer to your Valentine.
All right, the last item on the agenda is PC 2023-08. This is a request to zone IL.
Yes, we got a dyslexic, whoever came up with this. The IL stands for light industry. And this is the former pet industry site at the corner of Church and June Lane, where it breaks off onto James Jones there. As you can see, most of the property around is already in the city, so it's kind of a donut hole. The city has purchased the parcel that was the pet, and they're going to redevelop it in the future, just have it probably for storage, but right now nothing specific. Zoning around it, it has the apartments on the side and the open space with the cemetery across the street, but things around it are a little in the light industrial character. So that's the zoning that they're requesting for it. And these are just some photos of it and of the existing buildings. So that concludes staff's report.
Mr. Moore, I have a question for you. My company sold present owner this facility about 2 years ago. Do I need to recuse?
I do not think so.
Okay, thank you. All right, is there any further questions of Ms. Elaine?
I got one question. When do you plan on tearing it down?
So the individual who purchased the property gifted this to the city. We have received a $300,000 brownfields grant. Those brownfields grant is restricted to phase one work. We can also do tank removal. It's pretty limited, but we plan on through the gifting of this property to the city, along with our use of the grant, makes it a very viable candidate for future monies through the federal government to do any remediation work that's needed on the property, as well as obviously demo portion of the property. So at this time, we do not have any concrete plans to demo it or a timeline, but we are looking at options on how to fund that.
The reason why I ask is because it's coming to be
Very much, yes.
Yeah.
a drug habit.
Yes. And this is certainly one of those properties that that economically is very tough to take on for private individuals to do, and this is where municipalities working with state and federal agencies where we need to step in and take a hold of this.
Thank you, Mr. Moore.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
That was an interesting meeting.
All right, I will open the public hearing. Is there anyone that'd like to speak for or against? If not, I will close the hearing and call for a motion.
So moved.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve as requested. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. And Mr. Moses, I want to hear it this time.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed?
No.
Okay. I want to sit down there with them next time. They seem to be having more fun than they are down on this end. All right, so that passes unanimously. Unless there's any old or new business, we are adjourned. Oh, I have to make a motion for adjournment. And Mr. Moses usually does that. That's why I kind of caught me off guard.
Make a motion to adjourn for the night.
Okay, I have a motion. I have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.